respected guests of honor, honorable diplomats, esteemed politicians, academicians, renowned journalists, civil society representatives, business leaders, and respected guests. A very good morning to you all. I am Ifat bint Iftekhar, and I welcome you to the event celebrating 50 years of German-Bangladesh diplomatic relations. This event is being organized by the Center for Governance Studies, CGS, in collaboration with the Frederick Ebert Stiftung, FES, Bangladesh, to honor and celebrate the long-lasting friendship that Bangladesh and Germany have shared. Germany is the first European country to have recognized Bangladesh as an independent country in 1972 after the Liberation War. This bilateral relationship since then has experienced massive growth and has added different dimensions throughout the past century. Bangladesh is grateful for Germany's extended efforts in meeting Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and Bangladesh's 5-year development plan. We have with us today our guests of honor, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mohammad Farooq Khan MP, Chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and former Minister, and His Excellency Achim Troste, German Ambassador to Bangladesh, who has graced us today with their presence, as well as all of our respected guests. To honor and celebrate the strong bond that these two countries now share in the economy, diplomacy and development, we thank everyone who has uplifted the spirit of today's event with their attendance. Our event is being live streamed on Facebook and YouTube, and the updates are also being tweeted, so we thank our online audience too for joining in our celebration. Now, we'd like to start today's event with the opening remarks. First, I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Felix Kolbitz, Resident Representative, Frederick Ebert Stiftung, FES Bangladesh, to share his thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. Dear Excellencies, dear esteemed partners and friends of FES and CGS, I take the honor of welcoming you here all today on the occasion of celebrating the 50th anniversary of the bilateral relations between Bangladesh and Germany. 50 years in which these relations have transformed into a strong partnership. On behalf of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, I congratulate you. Also, on the occasion of the 51st anniversary of independence 2 days ago, I congratulate all Bangladeshis. For this occasion, together with our partner, the Center for Governance Studies, we briefly look back at those 50 years since the birth of Bangladesh. But we are not historians. Thus, we will also use this opportunity to look into the future and how this relationship can develop in the years to come. What areas could or should be areas of cooperation to strengthen these relations even further. Not only Bangladesh has changed significantly in the past 5 decades, also Germany. Thus, we expand this look into the future and include the European Union perspective as well. We will highlight some areas in which we see potentials for expansion in both directions beyond trade and development cooperation, such as academic, cultural, or civil society exchanges. I am delighted to have the Honorable former Foreign Secretary, Mr. Mohammed Tawhid Hussein, with us today, who will give his keynote speech on those topics. We will publish his final paper soon, so stay tuned. For FES, this marks also the starting point for a new project area. We endeavored in the past year already slowly into the field of geopolitics and geoeconomics, with papers on the impact of the pandemic on foreign policy issued by such esteemed authors such as Professor Ali Riaz, Professor Shantanu Majumdar, and Dr. Emel Razak. You do have these papers in your folders with you, so please have a look at them as well. Also, together with our FES regional office, we hosted a national lab on geopolitics in which we gathered the who is who of Bangladeshi foreign policy discourse and started to dive into this new topic. Some of you are also here with us today, and again, thank you very much for attending already last year in our event. We hope and intend to continue this cooperation with CGS and also some other partners. Dear ladies and gentlemen, today we are launching this project line officially. We are grateful to have our long-standing partner, the University of Dhaka, with us again, but also welcome new partners such as the Center for Governance Studies, with whom we organized today's event, and also the Research and Policy Integration for Development, or short RAPID. But we also have the honor to collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Bangladesh in the fields of geoeconomics and free trade arrangements. Today, I'm very privileged to welcome here the Honorable Ambassadors, Mr. Achim Tröster of the Federal Republic of Germany and Mr. Charles Whiteley of the European Union delegation to Bangladesh, and the Honorable Chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Farooq Khan. I would also like to welcome Ambassador Naseem Firdaus, who was Bangladesh's first female diplomat and later on also the ambassador to Indonesia. Now, I'm not sure if they're here yet. The filmmaker Rubaiyat Hussein, whose most recent film, an EU-Bangladesh co-production, just hit Bangladeshi cinema halls. And if you haven't done so yet, I would highly recommend you to watch it. From the Bangladesh German Chamber of Commerce and Industry Committees, I welcome the chairperson Abdul Muqtadir. And last but not least, I also don't see his face yet, but I hope he will come soon. Director General for West Europe and the European Union, Mr. Fayaz Mushid Kazi of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Bangladesh. Dear distinguished guests, we hope that today's panel discussion will give you some ideas and recommendations for Bangladesh, Germany, and the whole EU how to move their relations further and exploring new areas of cooperation. Strong partnerships are necessary, especially looking at global challenges which affect us all, such as climate change, flight and migration, or potential global food crisis as a fallout of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, just to name a few. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the Center for Governance Studies, and especially to Mr. Zilur Rahman and his team for jointly organizing and moderating today's event. Also, I would like to thank the team of FES, especially Shadan Kumardash, without whom this event today would not be possible. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to hand back to our Master of Ceremony, Ifat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We would now welcome on stage Dr. Munjur A. Chaudhuri, Chairman, Center for Governance Studies, and also the Chairman of National River Conservation Commission, Bangladesh, to share his opening remarks with us. Please join us on the podium.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Guest of Honor, Lieutenant Colonel Farooq Khan, Member of Parliament and former Minister. Honorable Guest of Honor, His Excellency Achim Tröster, German Ambassador to Bangladesh. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and guten Morgen. Today we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh-German relationship. East Germany, which is now a part of Germany, was the first European country to recognize the newborn country among all the European countries. Since then, the relationship between these two countries developed into a model one. We are not party to any strategic treaty with Germany, yet we have a strong and vibrant economic relationship with Germany. Now, Germany is the second largest destination of our export products from Bangladesh. Our relationship with Germany goes far back into the history. Germany had an important role in our independence struggle against the British colonial ruler. During the First World War, there was a Bengali group of politicians who were known as Berlin Committee, played an important role. Even during the Second World War, our Subhash Chandra Bose got support from Germany. Germany was always with us in our struggle for freedom and independence. Even during the 70s, late 70s and 80s, our country went through military rulers. At that time, Germany opened her doors to the dissidents from this country. We remember this openness and friendliness to Bangladeshi people. Our relationship is on the right track, on the solid ground. This is a relationship which is mutually beneficial for the people of both the countries. Center for Governance Studies, CGS, has organized this event in collaboration with Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, or simply FES, CGS has a strong partnership with FES. In partnership with FES, we have organized these events focusing on the future of Bangladesh. On behalf of Center for Governance Studies, once again, I welcome you all to this event. Former Foreign Secretary, Mr. MD Tawhid Hussein, will present the keynote speech here on Bangladesh-German relationship. Following the keynote speech, a distinguished panel will discuss this issue further. I hope all of you will enjoy the event. Thank you.
Now, we would like to capture today's joyous occasion and like to welcome all our honorable guests and discussants, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mohammad Farooq Khan MP, His Excellency Charles Whitley, His Excellency Achim Truster, Mr. Felix Kobetz, Dr. Manjure Chaudhuri, Mr. Mohammad Tawhid Hossain, Mr. Shadhun Kumar Dash, Mr. Zilur Rahman, Ambassador Nasim Ferdows, Mr. Fayaz Murshid Qazi, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir and Ms. Rubayat Hossain to please come forward for a photograph. It is now time to hear the valuable thoughts from one of our guests of honor. Now, we would like to welcome His Excellency Achim Truster, German Ambassador to Bangladesh, to share his valuable thoughts with us.
Dear Mr. Kolbitz, dear Mr. Chaudhuri, Honorable Member of Parliament, distinguished guests, a very good morning, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address you to this important event. I hope you're not too disappointed, because if you had a look at the program, you would have seen me announced as speaker at the end. But I have so much to say, and I would like to speak for at least 1 hour, and therefore I asked the organizers to postpone, because otherwise I think after 3 hours of discussion, your attention would lower too much in order to really be attentive to the valuable things that I would like to tell you. So please don't be too disappointed that I speak now to you. My first words of thanks go to the Friedrich Ebert Foundation and the Center for Government for organizing this very valuable event. It is in the framework of the celebrations of our 50 years anniversary of bilateral relations. And it took only today that for the first time Mr. Chaudhuri mentioned something that, of course, I usually always avoid to mention. Because I'm today here as the representative of a state that still exists and still is a UN member state. Meanwhile, the state you were referring to, and I think, thanks God, doesn't exist any longer, because it has voluntarily decided to join the Federal Republic of Germany that I represent. It was correct that this former state recognized Bangladesh some days before. The Federal Republic of Germany did, but I think our recognition on the 4th of February in 72 was at least the more sustainable version of the recognition. And speaking for all of the Germans, we are luckily united in one state since 1990 with the help of our partners and allied. I am congratulating both our people for 50 years of very successful relationship. Looking back, I must say it was a very successful story for both of our countries. But if we take a very close look at it, both countries are not any longer the same. My country, as I've mentioned, is not any longer only half of Germany. We have become united. we have undergone severe changes. Not only we have more territory, which is not the most important thing, but we can live as German people together in liberty and freedom since 1990. And we have also changed the face of our population. I think somebody who was in Germany in 1972 and who goes back now only for the first time, he would be surprised, because also the populations have changed. We have now 25% of our population that has a migrational background. So we are not any longer only the descendants of the Germans that defeated in 9 past Christ the Romans in the forest of Teutoburg, but we have become a quite diverse mix. So Germany has changed a lot, but also Bangladesh has significantly changed. Those who have seen, like me, in 1972 in the news, all the information about the new gained independence, they would also be extremely surprised when they would be here together with us. And I see this also talking to other people to colleagues who were here 20, 25 years ago. When I sent some photos to them, they are deeply surprised. They recognize nearly nothing. Bangladesh has significantly, and for the better, developed. You're not any longer 70 million people, you are now at least 165 million people, and you're not any longer a poor and disaster-stricken poor country, but you have graduated to a lower middle income country, and you are highly ambitious, and I think you have all sorts of possibilities to succeed in very quickly becoming a middle income country, and also like Bangladesh intends to do, and its ambitious government in 2040, an industrialized country. So both of our countries have undergone significant changes, and I think that this event is all the more important as it doesn't only look back on 50 years. Politicians, if I may say so, have the tendency to look back only on their past successes and achievements, but I think what is much more important for our population now is to look to the future and to see how we can manage the challenges that are ahead, and they are manifold. And I think this event, which is one in a chain of many events celebrating the 50 years, is particularly important because it focuses on what is lying ahead and on the challenges. Climate change has already been mentioned. I'm very happy to announce that in last week's bilateral governmental consultations, Germany has offered to the government of Bangladesh to establish a particular special kind of climate and development partnership. I'm very optimistic that we can start to establish this. This is only a partnership that Germany has or will offer to 10 countries. So this will be a special relationship that unites us, and that makes our relationship quite unique. And we will have in 2 weeks the visit of the recently nominated Secretary of State for International Climate Policy. It is, apart from a short visit to Brussels, the first big international trip that Mrs. Morgan, she's a former executive director of Greenpeace, that she will do, and she does her trip and organizes her trip specifically because she wants to set a sign of our German commitment to those countries who are especially exposed to the and especially vulnerable to the negative effects of climate change. And I think that this 4 days visit will also help to mutually agree on future activities in jointly combating the negative effects of climate change. And in order to be able to discuss the main challenges that lie ahead, the Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung has kindly ordered or commanded this extremely valuable study by former Secretary of State Mr. Hussein. I had the privilege of having a deeper look at it before, I must say I'm deeply impressed. I have already told to my colleagues that from now on, at least 5 years in the future, every German diplomat who will be posted to Dhaka should read this before coming. I would have loved to have been able to read it when I arrived here in the last July. It is really seems to me very exhaustive and extremely thoughtful. So congratulations for this excellent work and for all those who have contributed to it. And I think it will be useful and will be able to give a very good input for today's panel discussion. I must say I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope that the discussion will also lead to some concrete recommendations and concrete fields of nominated fields of activities also for the work of my government. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the results, and I wish us all a highly interesting morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, His Excellency. We would now request Mr. Mohammad Tawhid Hussein, former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh government, to give his keynote speech on prospects and challenges in Bangladesh's relationship with Germany and the European Union on its 50th anniversary of independence. And later on, we will have a panel discussion on it. Thank you.
Chairman, Foreign Affairs Committee, Ambassador of Germany, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. 41 years back, I took a momentous decision of my life. I had two options. In fact, when I was in the university, I had always thought of becoming a teacher at the Department of History. And by the time I was called for an interview, I had already spent 6 months at the Foreign Ministry as a Foreign Service officer. So I had this dilemma what to do. I finally decided that although I had been thinking of just pursuing and distributing knowledge all my life, etc., etc., in 81, I decided that no, I would rather be a practitioner. Now, I had been a practitioner, but then FES and SEA, Center for Governance Studies, they made me do something, you know, which could be said that going deep into an issue and then just writing something which looks like a research paper sort of thing. I have tried my best, but I still feel that the overall tone of my paper would be that of the reflections of a practitioner rather than a real theoretician. Okay, now we already know that Germany was the first country in Europe to recognize Bangladesh. Without going into that, we have had a very good and very useful relation with Germany, and subsequently with also the European Union. Initially, since it was a war-ravaged country, we needed assistance from all over the world as far as possible, and then the relation with Germany, Bangladesh relation with Germany, Bangladesh relation with the EU was basically one of donor-recipient. We are receiving the donations and then they were the donors. That continued for almost, of course, some trade developed, but then basically it was a donor-recipient relation in the 70s and 80s. That changed in the 90s, and that has gone tremendous change since then. The relation between these entities, Bangladesh and Germany, as also Bangladesh and EU, is now one of trading, business, investment, things like this. And then Germany, as we have already been told that, and we know it, that is the second largest destination of our exports. And if we count the EU is by far the largest destination of our exports. So it's extremely important. And the other important thing is that the trade balance has always been in our favor in the trade with both Germany and the EU. There have been visits from both sides. It started with Ziaur Rahman's visit in 1981 to our Prime Minister has also been, present Prime Minister has also been to Germany a number of times. There has been visits at the functional level among ministers, among functionaries, and a lot of agreements have also been signed. There was starting with the 1972 technical cooperation agreement, and then we have agreements on protection of investment, we have agreement on avoidance of double taxation, we have agreement for training of our military officers in Germany. But overall, the trading relation is extremely important, and particularly because it helps our balance of payment in the long run. We have a huge surplus in our trade with these entities. This could be possible because of the GSP benefits that the EU and Germany has extended to us, particularly the everything but arms EBA facility that we have been enjoying. We won't be enjoying it after we graduate from the LDC, although we are looking forward to that. And I think ultimately trading relations and other relations will become important, because both for Germany and EU, one of the basic thrust is human rights, democracy, rule of law, etc., etc. Apart from trade and development, of course, environment is another very important area in which cooperation is there and can go further. We have since 2015 a formal mechanism for consultation with the EU, and we have it with Germany from much before that. That is working pretty well. Because that brings the two sides together, and then freely and frankly exchanges can take place so that we take care of each other's concerns and proceed accordingly. One of the major concerns of the EU, and of course Germany is also part of that, has been irregular migration. We have seen that in recent times, particularly quite a number of on a number of occasions this was raised, including in the Foreign Office consultations. And on one occasion recently, there was even an initiative from the European Commission to put some restrictions on Bangladesh visa seekers, but fortunately that has not materialized, and we have been able to interact with each other on this subject, and there have been some steps from Bangladesh side also, which has taken care of the concerns of the Europeans, and Bangladesh on its part has requested that training facilities for workers could be facilitated by the EU and Germany, so that people could go for employments legally where Europe has the requirements. So that, I think, is for the future a very important thing. There has been the question of the common security and defense policy, and I think one important aspect is that from the functional level, the relations is now being taken above to the political level. There has been a decision in the last EU-Bangladesh meeting that it will be raised to the political level, and there would be in the coming years there would be this strategic relationship. From the ambassador has already indicated to that, and I think that's where Bangladesh-Germany relations, Bangladesh-EU relations are heading towards. Now, we have to look into the challenges and roadblocks which are there now, coming in the 10, 20, 30 years, because a relation between countries is not a matter of one day, 1 month, 1 year, or even a decade. It goes on, and we have to plan in advance so that we are not taken aback by sudden change of events. I think to do that, we need to look into a few things. One is that where Bangladesh stands today. Where Bangladesh stands today at the 50 years of its independence, it has definitely changed from what it was in the 70s, and with a large population, youthful, ready to be, taking risks, working with a lot of diligence, etc. There are opportunities galore for these people, and Bangladesh seeks to establish its identity as a forward-looking but liberal country, secular in its spirit, where everyone can practice his religion, everyone can express his opinion freely. These are guaranteed in our constitution, but let us also do some self-criticism in saying that in reality, in practice, it's not always found there. So this difference between the constitutional promise and the reality puts us in a rather awkward situation. That's what I should say. There has been a persistent erosion of the institutions of Bangladesh, and I don't need to repeat each and every one, but we know that in democracy index, in the rule of law index, in the justice index, in each and everything, we are in a very unenviable position if we compare it to the rest of the world. Now, before going into the real interactions between Germany and Bangladesh and Germany and EU, Bangladesh and EU, what is the situation of our relations with the regional powers? That is extremely important. I would just touch upon two, India and China. I think the rest we all understand well. Now, with India, our relations are extremely important, very close. It started in a very difficult situation of our war of liberation, and it has continued till today. Not always it has been very happy, but it has been very intense and eventful all the time. India enjoys a lot of trade benefits from us, but let us also say, accept that we do not import from India because we love India. We will import from India because it is profitable for our businessmen to import from India to meet our requirements. So that is one thing. But apart from trade, the other concern of India was security, particularly the IIGs, Indian insurgent groups in the northeastern states. And about that, we have our government has taken care of that, and they have been. India is now pretty happy about that, the help that we have extended. The other concern was transit to those areas so that those areas could be developed. Unless they can be developed, the insurgencies cannot be actually completely eliminated. And we have given that facilities also. Unfortunately, there is a pervasive feeling that those have not been reciprocated by India. So there is a feeling of animosity among the people. Let us accept the reality that the people are not happy with, many of the people are not happy with India because of these factors, that why India is not taking care of our concerns, the question of Tista, the question of killing at the borders. These are, and then we have this Citizenship Amendment Act, which equated us with Pakistan and Afghanistan as persecutors of the minorities, etc., etc. These are things that have embittered the minds of the people. Some experts, of course, say that the relation with India is time-tested, but time flows like river water, and there is always, it never is constant. With China, China is aware of the Indian interests in Bangladesh. That's what I feel. They are our officially biggest trading partner now, but actually India is the biggest trading partner because there is a huge amount of informal trade between the two countries. But officially China is the biggest trading partner, and also the one of the main sources, often exaggerated, one of the main sources of development finance. There are others who actually spend more money in development finance in Bangladesh. So this is one relation, but then the pervasive feeling that politically the two countries are always supportive of each other has been jolted by the Chinese position on the Rohingya issue, and this has been actually a eye-opener sort of thing, and we have to think twice and think differently as we used to do earlier. One important thing is that there is an interest, vested interest group within Bangladesh who benefit from relations and interactions with China. I think, and most of them are very pretty politically powerful. So that is one difficulty that we have in having our relation with China. The regional security situation. There have been recently in the Asia Pacific region two major initiatives. One is the Quad. Well, the Indo-Pacific thing was growing up for quite some time, although it became prominent recently. But the Quad involving the US, India, Japan and Australia has become an important thing. And there was pressure on Bangladesh to join this grouping, but Bangladesh has, as it has relations with both sides of the equation, because this is basically an effort to contain China. So Bangladesh naturally could not join this bandwagon like that, and Bangladesh has formulated its own Indo-Pacific strategy, in which the one aspect is that security doesn't mean military security only. There are other aspects, and the other thing is that Bangladesh maintains its equal distance from any such groupings, staying clear of any taking any side. Then we have the other grouping which has come up, which is the AUKUS, Australia, US, UK, and this has created a lot of ripples in both Asia and Europe. And France was furious because the Australians cancelled a huge submarine deal with France and went for Britain, and US was to supply this nuclear submarines to them, and Germany came out in support of France. So this is one phenomenon which has had a lot of repercussions both in Europe and Asia. Now, where does Europe and Germany stand in these new phenomena that have come up in the security situation of Asia Pacific? Now, Europe and Germany are not literal to Indian or Pacific Oceans, but they have intense interest in what happens in the Asia Pacific. If you just think of China, Europe's close to a quarter of the imports come from China, and we know that in the pandemic period there was serious difficulties of supply chain, and this over dependence on China is dangerous for anyone, including Europe and Germany. I'm skipping many of the things. In fact, reading out a paper is the most boring thing that can happen to an audience. I'm trying to avoid that. Now we go to the challenges facing Bangladesh. Now, first of all, we have serious challenge regarding human resource. I emphasize on this because I have some experience running a school in the village. There are few good schools in the cities, but the standard of schools in the school education in the rural side is absolutely terrible. Now, that comes to the point that they churn out graduates who are actually unemployable, absolutely unemployable, and they would not also go for the to meet up the shortage of agricultural labor because they are educated, so it's below their dignity to go for agricultural labor. So it is being it's a double-edged sword which is harming us on both ways. So this is one big challenge. 41 developed country. If we cannot change this, this will remain a dream. We can never reach there if we cannot improve the quality of human resource and education. Telecommunication, lot of hullabaloo about digital Bangladesh, but our speed of internet is half of Myanmar, less than Nepal. We need improvements here. Basis of our economic prosperity. We have prospered. 6% plus growth for a quarter of a century, and now it is even going when during the COVID pandemic, all major economies contracted. We still grew by 3.5%. It's not a matter of joke, but this stands on very, very shaky grounds. There are three things which take us there. One is the remittance from our workers. 8 to 10 million people send money. Second is the garments export, mostly in the bottom and mid segment. We are not in the upper echelon. And third is agriculture. Most of our workers are the lowest paid and work in the construction sector in the Middle East. This is a limit, one. Second thing is that any problem in the Middle East, any conflagration in the Middle East will have serious repercussions on this. If they start coming back, there is no place for them to employ them. One. Second, in 10 years' time, I am told that much of the basic stitching will be done by computers and with the robots. So where do we stand? Where are we going to upgrade? It's not that easy. Upgrading is not very easy. So this is also a very shaky ground. Only the agriculture sector is doing well and very resilient. Government is helping in some respects, but the farmers are helping themselves. That is the most important thing. So, but also we have the difficulty of too many people trying to feed too many people from too small a piece of land, over cultivation and nutrition, lack of nutrition in the soil, etc. We are already started facing these problems, and this will only increase. Balance of payment position, we are good at this moment, but my friend Mustafizur Rahman of Center for Policy CPD Policy Studies, he has indicated 9 indicators for which we could in the long run face serious problem of balance of payments. And I am not going into the details, but he has also indicated that there are countries including India who are caught in the middle income trap for a long time. Lower middle income trap, and the upper middle income trap we have Malaysia, Argentina, Brazil. So this is one danger that is looming at the horizon. The conflicting relationship between India, China and the USA in this vicinity is itself a problem for us. We have good relations with all 3 of them, but since they have conflicting relations, that could someday, if in case of a polarization, could be a serious problem for us, which side to take. I believe that our military needs a minimum deterrence capacity, which we do not have this at this moment. Well, many people think that we don't need this, but I do believe that we need this. There are 2 important lessons from the Russia-Ukraine war. One, no friendship is sacrosanct. Ukraine and Russia were the closest of friends for a very long time. They have almost common history, common culture, almost. Nobody could believe that Russia would, even when preparations were taking place, it was thought that it's just a pressure tactic. They are not going to attack Ukraine, but they have attacked Ukraine. One lesson. Second lesson, even a much weaker country like Ukraine can hold on to its own with help from others, friends, and with a resilience and unity. So these are 2 lessons for smaller countries like, weaker countries like Bangladesh, which has come up from the Russia-Ukraine war. Lastly, we have the problem of the Rohingyas. I have written a lot on it, but I don't want to go into details and bore you. You all know it, the situation. 1, 2, 3, and 4th time this is the one. 78, 92, 91, 92, then 2016, and then 2017. Now, after 2016, under international pressure, the Kofi Annan Commission was instituted. The gentleman did a report with 80 recommendations. 3 days after he submitted the recommendations, the worst atrocities started. And we have now more than 1 million of them on our soil, in the most densely populated country of the world. So, we have to take care of these. Now, about India and China, particularly China, why China has gone all over, all the way, taking, supporting Myanmar. One thing, that the issue of human rights doesn't really bother China. That's fine. But there are also practical reasons why China has chosen Myanmar vis-a-vis Bangladesh. Myanmar has given China access to the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. We cannot do that. We don't have a border with China. And two, they have two pipelines, one carrying the gas from Myanmar, the other carrying oil from the Middle East from the Bay of Bengal into the Chinese hinterland. And they need it desperately to reduce, and they are also building this port, thereby reducing their dependence a lot on the Malacca Strait. These are things which Myanmar can afford them and we cannot. So in their own interest, they have done it. Now, India's Kaladan project is a non-starter in my opinion, but there can be a second opinion about that. Now, what can be the solution of this problem? The solution of this problem can be actually on the basis of what our Prime Minister said at the UN General Assembly and what the Kofi Annan Commission says. There is no indication that we are going in that direction in any way to resolve this issue. So, but some important developments have taken place. For example, well, before that it had gone to the ICJ and the ICC, so legal process is on, that takes a lot of time. But two important developments took place last year. One is the military coup. It was in any case a quasi-military government, but then they thought that the time has come for them to just shake off the facade, civilian facade, and take over completely. They did it in last year's February. And the second thing, the formation of the government of national unity by the members of parliament who have been disqualified by the military regime. So, and this national unity government has done one thing which normally no Myanmar authority has ever done, which is that they called the Rohingyas. They issued a paper about the Rohingya problem, and they said that they are going to take care of their if and when they come to power, they are going to treat them as equal citizens with all rights and security, and they invited them to join their fight against the military. So it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to, this conglomerate is not going to oust the military from Myanmar's government and take over the country. That's not going to happen in near future. But someday, when there is again a table where people sit and decide how to end the whole conflict and then go about for the future, these things, this paper, this call can or may become important. Western countries, including the EU, have been supportive of the Rohingyas from the very beginning, from 17 onwards particularly. But that has been more theoretical than really practical. Particularly about one thing, I am quite surprised that even up in 2020, Myanmar was still enjoying the benefits of everything but arms. And their export under that scheme was more than $2 billion to the EU. Okay, so these are the challenges that we have ahead of us. Now, how can Germany and EU can help? One, development of human resources. I admire the German system of education. I admire the German system because everyone is not supposed to or needed to be a master degree holder. Whereas in our culture, everyone aspires to hold a master's degree and try for a job of a peon. Now that the Germans have taken care of that, because much of the young high school graduates, correct me Ambassador if I am wrong, many of them go into high skilled professions, learn this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and then enter the market with good pay, good salaries. And relatively a smaller portion goes for university education and make contributions to the country. I think something like this is needed in Bangladesh, and Germany may be able to help us to develop such a system. Maybe a tall order, but then you have to look forward to higher things. Unless we think of becoming a developed country by 41, we would not even go become a upper middle income country. We have to look forward to higher positions than apparently seems possible. Second, developing Bangladesh as an alternate source of consumer goods. The over-dependence on China, the dangers of that has been seen already. So, Bangladesh has the capacity, with its industrial background of the last 30 years, has the capacity with assistance and help and guidance to become a major source of consumer goods for Europe. The details can be worked out by the business persons. 3. For the intermediate goods, Bangladesh now has some skills. It doesn't have to be only the basic consumer goods. For intermediate goods also, for which Europe depends on many other countries, Bangladesh can become a hub for that also, with technology transfer, with investments. In one thing, although Germany has been one of the major donors, $3 billion in the last 50 years, 3 billion euro. Unfortunately, the investment proportion is not very high. We prefer that Germany should come and invest with technology, with and with their investment, our technology, our capacity to produce intermediate goods can also flourish. Help resolve the Rohingya problem. Put more pressure on Myanmar, not individual countries only, but as a whole, so that, of course, we must also remember that Myanmar is used to living under such restrictions for the last 50, 60 years. But still then, the only thing that can work is appropriate pressure. And recently, of course, the European Parliament has voted to support the NUG, National Unity Government, although no individual country has still done it because there are practical reasons for not doing that. But this, I think, is a positive step, and we would expect that Germany and the EU would be putting pressure on Myanmar and creating situations under which the Rohingya problem can be resolved. Assistance in climate change adaptation. Germany is a pioneer in many of the technologies, so I think there are cooperations already there, but I think there are further scope for more cooperation with Germany on mitigation of the climate change challenges. And lastly, I would say that strategic partnership in defense and security related matters. Bangladesh military is extremely dependent on China for its hardware, for all the 3 branches of its military. Say, in a theoretical situation, if there is a conflict between Myanmar and Bangladesh, where do we stand? With China completely being on the side of Myanmar, and all our hardware being of Chinese origin. So I think this recognition, this realization has already come there a little bit, and we are, as far as I have seen, we are looking for alternate sources of military hardware. Now, here also a small lesson from the Russia-Ukraine war. Germany had a provision that in a conflict zone they cannot export any weapons. I think they had a provision like this. Now, you don't buy arms to make love. You buy arms for conflicts, and I don't know how such a rule or law can be considered to be rational. But this is, I think, for the first time, I don't know if it is the first time, that Germany has exported arms to one of the belligerents, which is Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine is fighting for its survival, defending itself against an aggressor. So, if that principle applies, we can have similar relations with Germany and other European countries. As a last point, I would just say that a strong Bangladesh is good for Europe. Why? Bangladesh is in some ways a unique country. Now, China, USA, the China-USA interaction or the relations or policies may not always be the same policies as that of Europe. It often contradicts with the American position. We have seen this. So, what can be, who can be the interlocutors or partners of Europe in Asia? India, a big possibility. India has its own ambitions. India has its own ambitions in the region, in Indian Ocean. It wants to become the dominant force in Indian Ocean. It wants to be the hegemon of the region. That may conflict with the interests of Europe sometimes. Other countries, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, they are in one grouping which is going to have or already started having some security implications also. They have certain provisions by which they cannot go away from what others in the ASEAN are doing. ASEAN is in the process of having some sort of security arrangements also. Bangladesh is one country which doesn't have any encumbrance. We have no security encumbrance in which Europe cannot cooperate with us. On any issues, Europe can cooperate and find us as a partner. For us also, because of all these complications, Europe is a better bet than any other area. This is my opinion that a strong Bangladesh is in the interest of Europe and vice versa, of course. Having a relation with Europe is also beneficial for us. Just in conclusion, we have no territorial ambitions. Even when when one of the US congressmen said that actually Rakhine should become part of Bangladesh, we instantly said that we are not interested in such things. Our government said this. We want to live in peace, pursue our development goals, and just be a part of the peaceful world. So, unfortunately, in the crunch time, we have seen that the friends we had been relying on have all abandoned us. So, the problem of the Rohingyas particularly will be a long drawn thing, and we need partnership with other countries, with we need to find new friends or make more intense relations with other friends in our own interest. And I think in that, for mutually beneficial strategic partnership, Bangladesh and Germany and the EU can find partners in each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insight. It is now the time to hear from one of our guests of honor, Retired Lieutenant Colonel Mohammad Farooq Khan MP, Chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and former Minister. I would please request him to come up to the podium to give his speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency Ambassador of Germany to Bangladesh, Excellencies, distinguished panelists and participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. It's a matter of great honor for me to join this joyous occasion to celebrate the 50 years of German-Bangladesh relation organized by the Center for Governance Studies. Actually, whatever I wanted to say, to speak very frankly, has already been said by Mr. Tawhid, and I congratulate Mr. Tawhid for his deliberations, and I think I would surely request you to give me a copy of your paper. Do you have it in the folder? Actually, I would like to congratulate the Center for Governance Studies for organizing this seminar. I will be looking forward to hearing the panelists. There are areas which certainly interest Bangladesh: the security cooperation, the Rohingyas. These are of interest to Bangladesh, particularly, and I'm sure that the cooperation between Bangladesh and Germany, ever since Bangladesh was recognized by them immediately after the Liberation War, is very important for us. I won't go any further because I have to go back to the Parliament. We have a Parliament very soon. I will stay for some more time to listen to the panelists, and then I'm sure that will be beneficial for them. Thank you very much. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.
Thank you so much, sir. We shall now move forward to the panel discussion on prospects and challenges in Bangladesh's relationship with Germany and the European Union on its 50th anniversary of independence. For that, I would now welcome on stage the moderator of this session, Mr. Zilur Rahman, Executive Director of the Center for Governance Studies, His Excellency Charles Whitley, Ambassador, European Union, Delegation to Bangladesh, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, Advisor, Center for Governance Studies, Mr. Fayaz Murshid Kazi, Director General, West Europe and European Union, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dhaka, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, Chairman, Bangladesh German Chamber of Commerce and Industry Committees, and Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Association of Pharmaceutical Industries, and Ms. Rubayat Hussein, filmmaker, writer, and interdisciplinary researcher. Please join us on the stage to start the panel discussion.
Good morning, Assalamu alaikum and Namaskar. Thank you so much for investing your time with us on a working day morning. Before we dive into the panel introductions, I want to take the temperature of the room. How many of you traveled to Germany? Please raise your hand. Travel to Germany. Favor. Yeah. How many of you traveled to Europe? Yeah. And as we all know that there is a war going on in Europe, how many of you are supporting Russia? No idea? Supporting Ukraine? Yeah. That's great, awesome.
Supporting the people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
People of Ukraine.
Yeah, people of Ukraine, yeah. That's great. In fact, you have heard almost everything from Mr. Tawhid Hussain about the relationship between Bangladesh and Germany, and to some extent about the relationship between Bangladesh and European Union. Thank you, Mr. Tawhid Hussain. Thank you so much. But I have 3 key questions for everyone here in this room. Do we need Germany as a partner? Can the European Union meet the challenges ahead? Can we go back to pre-COVID era or pre-Ukraine-Russia war? No risk. You don't need to answer all these. We have a very exciting panel to answer all these and many more. Let me introduce the panel we have today. To my very next, His Excellency Ambassador Charles Whitley, Ambassador European Union Delegation to Bangladesh. Next to him, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, he is the Chair of Bangladesh German Chamber of Commerce and Industry Committees and Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Association of Pharmaceutical Industries, and he is the Chairman of Incepta Pharmaceuticals Limited. Next to him, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus. She is the first female diplomat of Bangladesh, and she's the advisor of Center for Governance Studies, and she worked for Bangladesh as a diplomat in many European countries, and she is the founder and president of Bangladesh Alliance for Women Leadership. Next to her, Mr. Fayaz Murshid Kazi, Director General, West Europe and European Union, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dhaka. And at the end of the panel, Ms. Rubayat Hussain, filmmaker, writer, and interdisciplinary researcher. So, welcome you all. And please welcome my extraordinary panel with applause. Now I'll kick off the conversation, and I have a very common question for everyone in the panel. Each of you will have 2 to 3 minutes maximum. How did you find Mr. Tawhid Hussain's presentation? I will start with Ambassador Charles.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be on the panel with everybody, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Very pleased to be here, and it's nice to join the theme of Germany and the EU, because of course Germany is the powerhouse of the EU, and in so many ways, whether it's economic or political or on the foreign policy field, and we've seen the leadership that Germany's provided in so many cases, including recently in the Syrian refugee crisis. Also the big changes that are already happening in the EU that are driven by changes in Germany, as we see from the Ukraine war, the Russian aggression in Ukraine, the unprecedented decision by Germany to boost its military forces and to send support abroad. So I think we're in the middle of quite a small revolution in Europe. I think this paper is extremely timely. First of all, I just turned 50 2 months ago, and when you turn 50, you're in danger of becoming stale, flabby, disconnected, uninterested, no longer understanding young people. And there's a danger too in a relationship when you turn 50 that the same can happen. And that shouldn't be allowed to happen, because the relationship is too big and too important to fail. Between the EU and Bangladesh, and also between Germany and Bangladesh. And I think what this paper does is tells us that we need to work hard on looking to the future. You know, we've spent so many years, I was posted in Bangladesh before in 2005 to 9. If I cast my mind back to the relations we had then, of course, lots happened in the interim years. But if I cast my mind back to then, some of the key themes in the relationship are still the key themes today. Are we going to see diversification of exports? How important is the duty-free, quota-free access to the EU? How do we make the relationship more political? How do we engage more as partners on the international stage on issues of mutual interest like climate change? That's all still a work in progress, and I think we need papers like this to stimulate thinking. And even I like it when the paper gives ideas that may seem a little bit off the wall. So, for example, I believe the paper mentions the idea of an FTA. That's certainly an idea that does the rounds. At the moment, that doesn't seem like a very realistic thing. It's not realistic because the nature of the trading relationship between the EU and Bangladesh isn't, in a sense, sophisticated enough to support an FTA. And that's because, you know, Bangladesh has LDC, EBA access, duty-free, quota-free access, and because the EU only imports or provides 1 billion FDI in Bangladesh. That compares to 6 billion FDI with Vietnam, that's a much smaller country. So the relationship needs to be built quickly in order to prepare the ground for things like an FTA. And if we don't focus on what seems unlikely now as an aspiration for something in the quite near future, then we won't do the necessary groundwork to build the relationship. And I think what I like about this paper is there's plenty of ideas about why the relationship still matters and why Europe can still be a solid, useful partner for Bangladesh and vice versa. So
Thank you, Charles. Mr. Abdul Muqtadir.
Thank you, Zillur, for giving this wonderful platform. And I must thank Tawhid Bhai for writing a fantastic paper. I think this is almost like a textbook, and while going through it, I would also request you to iron here and there a little bit to make it absolutely complete. First of all, let me reiterate that what Tawhid Bhai said about education is absolutely correct. And German model of education of giving technical skills, people in our school level, or people instead of going into normal humanities studies is absolutely necessary. And if we have the right kind of people and right kind of skilled people, in fact, then the FDI and the other things that we are all talking about would then be something like which is appropriate, so that they can come and actually utilize these people in the benefit of both the countries. I will cite two small examples. Like 10 years back, I went to Brack University, and I was having a conversation with the students while the Vice Chancellor was with me. And I asked him, how many students are enrolled in Brack University? He said 14,000. And I said, how many students are studying science? He said, maybe less than 2,000. I said, what other students are doing? They said, all 12,000 plus are studying BBA. This is just absolutely garbage, and what they're coming out, they are not going to be productive. Yesterday, we had a conversation with the IBA students, and there were about over 100 students came, and I was having an interaction with these very young students. I asked them, what did you study before enrolling into IBA, BBA program? So I found out that almost 100 students were pure science and only 4 students came from humanities. That proves that only people who are very good in their education, they could get admitted into IBA. They all came from science background. And imagine what a waste of the talents. They could have been brilliant engineers, scientists, or doctors taking care of the country. So what I would like to emphasize here, that education needs a major reformation. Here the former minister and parliamentarian is there. I would like to make a very strong recommendation to the government to take care of this immediately. And then another very crucial thing that Tauhid Bhai also brought in is the quality of education. Although there are many universities, and I come from a background of industrial pharmacists, and there are as many as 40 universities which are now teaching pharmacy education, and if you combine, that is maybe as much as whole of Europe. I mean, if you talk about pharmacy graduates. So this is an tremendously important observation, that if we can actually improve the quality of the education in pharmacy, in biochemistry, in chemistry, things like that, these subjects, I will touch upon on the biotechnology, on this, how this can actually bring in Europe, especially Germany and Bangladesh together. So this quality of education has to be improved, and a lot of research should be conducted here in Bangladesh, because we can provide you this, and this requires paying some very serious attention to higher education in science. Now putting into what should we do to bring in Germany, especially Germany and the European Union with Bangladesh together, and what we can do, let's look into one simple observation. If you ask most of the people in Bangladesh, they will say, oh, the China is over flooding Bangladesh with investment. And you will see this project, that project, all kinds of projects are being handled by China. Then you will see also India doing a power plant in our southern part of the country, and they are also trying to give us investment so that Bangladesh can go ahead. And also lately you see a lot of activities from Japan, and they are building up our metro rail and the communication and things like that. But if you ask general people that what is the impression about EU and especially Germany, are they coming in, investing in Bangladesh? And this, you will see that they are doing it, but probably not to the scale that is noticeable. So I would say that what is missing? Don't they have surplus fund to invest? So I mean, the closeness, the proximity is a issue, but Japan is also too far away. So I would say that European Union, and we must have to do something. We don't blame Germany or European Union that they are not coming here. We have to make this change of the mindset, that we have to be more embracing, give them the comfort that they can invest. If they can invest $6 billion in Vietnam, why can't they invest $20 billion in Bangladesh? So let's make this situation something where they feel the comfort of coming in, investing, and get benefit of the investment. The seriously lacking things were the infrastructure and electricity. Electricity has been taken care of. Infrastructure has to be given, and once this is able, this has been established, then only thing that is not there is the skilled manpower and education. So if we can provide this, I think this situation will change. So I wanted to emphasize on 3 different things. One, okay, just I'm going to finish it. One is education. Number 2, this infrastructural thing. And last of all is biotechnology. once, if I am allowed to come back at a later phase,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, then I will talk about how Germany and Bangladesh can actually put forward something extremely important by which we would be able to make Bangladesh prosperous. And it is sustainable, and by 2040, we should be able to become a developed country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll hear from you more. Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, please. Just on the paper of Mr. Tawhid Hussain.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Zulu, for inviting me to this forum. It's an honor to be here. And on the paper, thank you, Tawhid, for a very comprehensive report on the Bangladesh-German relationship and Bangladesh-EU relationship. It's interesting that you have gone into all the details that was and what the future holds for Bangladesh-EU relation. I'll go to EU as Germany is one of the founding members of the European Union, one of the major founding members of the European Union. And so the experiences of the European Union has some relationship here with Bangladesh in taking it forward, the EU and German relationship with Bangladesh. It was a wonderful paper. What caught my attention was education, but not the higher education. I refer to what he mentioned at the very beginning about schools in the village. And I also support 3 schools in 3 different villages and have very sad experiences in regard to school education. And that is where I think Germany has a wonderful opportunity to make a difference. And in terms of school education, the European Union runs European schools in different capitals, in different language sections in certain places, particularly in Brussels and in Switzerland. I know this because my son went to the European schools in different capitals, and one of the things that I have seen that happened in terms of my son's education, and would be the same for any other Bangladeshi school child, is that it broadens their concept, it broadens their outlook, and it actually broadens the level of tolerance. Germany, and indeed the European Union, is a very tolerant society as a whole, and that makes a difference. So that is one part that I would put a lot more emphasis on. The other, as the previous speaker, the president of the pharmaceutical organization has mentioned, Bangladesh lacks technical education. And this field is actually very, very lucrative for investing, particularly for training women. We don't have in Bangladesh good nursing schools that produce nurses who live in Bangladesh and provide the services that we expect them to provide. We don't have good male nurses who actually can provide the health services that are required in the hospitals, as well in cases of patients who live at home and still need the medical care. These are areas under the broader umbrella of education that actually European Union can expand their investment. In terms of business, I mean, business has to be lucrative for any country to be able to expand that field. We now export around 1 billion euros worth of goods to the European Union, to Germany or the European Union. And I read the foreign minister's statement the other day at the German-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce, where he said they want to raise it to 10 billion. It will not happen in a vacuum. It requires preparation, and the preparation is to train manpower and to create an atmosphere of goodwill with the trained manpower to create the right kind of products to be exported to the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus. Mr. Fayaz Murtadkati.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. I see Ambassador Chaudhry, Ambassador Firdaus, Ambassador Hussein. These are the people we literally learned from. I mean, Ambassador Firdaus and Ambassador Hussein were Directors General when we joined the service. So I usually don't get nervous, but I'm really feeling nervous sitting in front of them. So I wouldn't dare critique the paper at all. What I would just highlight is that with European Union, we used to perhaps depend a lot on London, on the UK, to look at our relations. But when Brexit happened, we understood that we needed to reach out to other important member states of the European Union. And we could see that there was a reciprocation happening from Brussels, from Paris, from Rome. We could see that they were also trying to understand Bangladesh better, not just look at us through the traditional prism of the UK. So that was already a game changer. Then, of course, Ambassador Tawhid wrote and talked a lot about the Rohingya issue. And that also perhaps changed a lot the perceptions about Bangladesh. We have seen it in EU's official narratives that they consider Bangladesh to be an important stability provider in this region. And now that we look at the Indo-Pacific context, of course, that becomes even more pertinent. And that's where perhaps what Ambassador Hussein was talking about in terms of enhanced strategic engagements with European countries, with EU, that's where it comes in. Recently, when we were in Brussels in October, the Foreign Secretary's counterpart, he actually said that they felt happy that Bangladesh was considering Europe as kind of a buffer in the context of the various dynamics we see playing out in the region. Again, Ambassador Hussein mentioned some of the big power dynamics which we found ourselves in the midst of and how we navigate that. And in that context, we see a greater relevance for us in having an enhanced relationship with Europe. A lot has been said about investment, economic cooperation. That is, of course, one of the areas that we are currently looking at, and we would like to elaborate that. I'm glad that Ambassador Whiteley has recently come up with an interesting slogan. He says, EU Bangladesh, meaning business. We have to see how we can create better environment for the European countries to come and invest better. Again, thanks to Ambassador Whiteley, he took an initiative to share with us a list of issues that European countries would like to see changing in terms of the business or investment climate in Bangladesh. And what I would end with at this point is that we are working with the other concerned stakeholders within the government, including our investment promotion agency, our trade promotion agencies, to see how we can address some of these practical challenges that the European countries are bringing to our notice that we should try to address if we would like to draw greater investments from the European countries. And lastly, our partners here with FES, I would thank them that they have come forward in response to one of our calls to consider a standalone investment treaty with the European Union. We do understand that perhaps the time has not come to go into an FTA negotiation with Europe, but that should not preclude the possibility of looking into having a more sophisticated, more time relevant investment treaty with the European Union. And on that, we would like to work further with Brussels and definitely the other European partners. So I'll stop here at this point.
Thank you, Faiz. Thank you. Rubai.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this very esteemed panel. When I was listening to your paper, it was almost like sitting in a classroom. It was a very good lecture, and I must say that I learned a lot. And I would like to take on the thread of education and also reflect on what Ambassador Nasim was saying about the potential of collaborating in education and also in terms of women. I'm a filmmaker myself, and when I have to talk about 50 years of Bangladesh, I always have to think about how resilient Bangladeshi women are, and how much progress there has been in terms of how women think and how women act in society. I was in an exhibition arranged by Goethe Institute, and there are young women talking about feminism, And I was so encouraged to see these 30-year-old women, mid-20s women, talking in a way that I couldn't have. So I think there's immense possibility with a country like Germany and EU with Bangladesh for cultural collaboration in terms of education. And also, I'd like to address this whenever I get the mic, that we do not grow up in a vacuum. We are informed about our identity and about our roles in society from the cultural artifacts that we interact with. So the types of film that we make and the types of book that we write and the types of culture that we create is immensely important in creating a more equal and sustainable society. And I do see that possibility very much there in terms of diversifying the cultural ties. For example, if we talk about education, we don't have a film school in Bangladesh. When I made my films, I mostly learned by working on the set. And when I did my co-production with EU, which is a film called Shimu, it's about the struggle of a woman working in the ready-made garment factory. And I had the opportunity of doing my post-production in some of the EU countries, and I saw that the kind of technical facilities that are there. And we do not have those facilities, and that can definitely be a place where we are able to collaborate. And I just want to emphasize on the fact that in terms of diplomatic relationship, we talk about weapons and war and trade and billions of dollars, but I think it's also really important to emphasize culture because there's a lot of power there, especially in the visuals. Today we live in a world that's visuals have become a universal currency and language, and film is a very strong space of co-production. I myself have been part of Berlinale Festival in different capacities where I was able to develop my project, take part in co-production markets where we can seek financing, and Bangladesh does not still have proper policies in place for these type of co-productions, and that's something that I came up with when I was doing my co-production with EU, that Bangladesh does not recognize these types of co-production that's happening between Europe and Bangladesh, or there's a huge potential of, because in the EU countries there's so much public money for films. These are just grants that you can get on the basis of your project, and you can make actually a film in Bangladesh and a Bangladeshi story. And my film is in theaters right now all over Bangladesh. But we do not have actually proper policies that enable us to actually work with in more efficient manner. So I think that's just something that I can bring from, my part of the job, which is very different from many of the panelists here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rubaiyat. And we have a very incredibly powerful audience here. I'm saying that there are many politicians, civil society leaders, business leaders, diplomats here. Former Foreign Secretary Mr. Shamsher Mobin Chaudhary, he was the former ambassador to Germany. Ambassador Mohammad Shafil is here. We'll hear from you all later. I'll later on. And thanks to Colonel Farooq Khan, our beloved politician. Thank you for being with us. Ambassador Charles, you joined in a position in Bangladesh last year. What is your experience in Bangladesh so far? What do you like the most in Bangladesh?
What I like most?
Yeah.
Is that on?
Yeah, it's on.
I don't know. I mean, there are many things I like about Bangladesh personally and professionally. Of course, as I said, I was here before 2005 to 9. A very different Dhaka, a very different Bangladesh, and you see the energy and the growth and the development that's happened. I think it was mentioned about just the generation of electricity. I think that's gone up fourfold since I left Bangladesh. So there's lots happening, and I think it's amazing to see now how many actors there are involved in Bangladesh. You mentioned the Chinese, the Japanese, the Indians. I would just want to come back on the point you mentioned about the EU perhaps not being as visible in this area, and that's something we want to really make good on, because we now have the European Investment Bank that's showing a lot of interest in Bangladesh because of the way the economy is developed, and also because the European Investment Bank, which is an EU institution, has rebranded itself as the Climate Change Bank, and we're working to try to create sizable loans blended with grants that can be useful for infrastructure projects, for example, on renewable energy. So I think you'll be seeing the EU becoming more and more active in this domain, and probably with better conditions than some of the existing partners who work on infrastructure, because the blending of grants and loans means the loans are effectively 0% interest. So I just wanted to put that marker down. But other than that, what I see is a relationship, and Fayaz mentioned, DG Fayaz mentioned the meetings we've had in Brussels at high level last year. Well, this year we hope to see the first ever political dialogue between the EU and Bangladesh. And that will really be a change, because it will be a much more strategic discussion about how we work together in the world. You know, we've already learnt from Bangladesh, because, for example, of the presence of BRAC operatives in Afghanistan, you know, this kind of interest that Bangladesh has, as well as through peacekeeping and through its chairmanship of important international bodies now, like IORA and others. All of that means Bangladesh's diplomacy is far more present on the global stage than it was 10 years ago. And that means the EU and other partners have to work harder to work with Bangladesh on the global stage. So I think there are so many areas where we can do more, and I think this year will be, when we will be celebrating 50 years of EU-Bangladesh relations next year, a little bit lagging behind everybody else, but I think that's quite a nice thing, because everybody else's parties will have been had, and we can energize our relationship through that anniversary. And we hope to do that, whether it's in the trade field, whether it's in the climate change field, the connectivity field, or in as I said, closer political dialogue. So I think there's a lot to follow.
Ambassador, in an interview you said that sky is the limit in terms of cooperation. So what is EU's plan in Bangladesh in upcoming days? If we talk about investment and opportunity, as we know, Bangladesh is graduating from LDC. Is there any strategy of you in helping Bangladesh in this transformation?
I think the good thing is both the government and the EU have a strategy for this. The government has a clear strategy to govern LDC graduation, is well aware of what bumps on the road there might be. And I think from the EU side, we're very keen to make sure that there are no bumps on the road, and that means bringing in the GSP Plus facility smoothly after 2029, so once the 3-year transition period is over. I don't think it's in anyone's interest for that to be more difficult than it needs to be technically. So we're already thinking about how to make it smooth. You know, we have people in Brussels who are working on this, and also, of course, on the government side here. And I think that will be a big focus, because there's 32 conventions linked to that are signed. Bangladesh has now ratified all of them, which means it's very well placed. 6 years already, or 7 years ahead of the change, already has completed all the legal necessities. So we have every confidence that the other conditions, the implementation of these conventions, can be carried out smoothly as well. But our role here is to be as helpful as possible to that process. And also, we have more and more, for want of a better word, offensive interest in Bangladesh. We have business that wants to come here. I saw that we had some non-resident ambassadors coming through to present their credentials to the Honourable President.
14 ambassadors.
Yeah, several from the European Union. And they want to bring business here, and they don't have chambers of commerce here. So what we want is a European Chamber of Commerce that can attract and sell Bangladesh as a destination for European investment, because 1 billion is a laughable figure compared to what the opportunities are here. And I think that figure will grow quite quickly, provided we get the message out that Bangladesh is open for business, that we can address some of the red tape issues, and that there's a good commercial prospect here for our business, and I think that will happen. So
thank you. Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, as a voice of women empowerment in the country, what do you think our learnings can be from European Union, European countries in terms of women empowerment?
Very interesting question, because the European Union, especially Germany, has very interesting rules for women's employment. Women who stay at home, and correct me if I'm wrong, women who stay at home and their children get special allowances for bringing up children. I think this is also done in many other European countries. So, empowerment does not necessarily mean highly educated women, or empowerment does not necessarily and should not necessarily mean that women have to be employed outside. It should be their own choice whether they want to work at home or they want to work outside, or they want to be, choose an area of expertise where they can compete with men and do whatever they wish to do. One of the best things in the European Union is the education system. And again, I go back to the school level because I've seen it very closely. It actually develops the camaraderie between the students, boys and girls, in a way that allows them to grow up and become a part of the society. That is empowerment. That is the kind of empowerment we would like in our country as well, where we have so many problems with children, women going to, girls going to school, being teased on the roads, this kind of accidental things happening. So, you don't grow up in a vacuum. This brings me to the Tawhid's paper once again, Ambassador Tawhid Hussein's paper once again about rule of law and democracy. Rule of law is what ensures women's participation in a society, and the rule of law allows the women to make choices of her own. And that is what the European Union can teach us, really, at the school level.
And Ambassador, what is your observation on Bangladesh-EU relations and Bangladesh relations with Germany? Do you have any suggestions to further improve the relationships?
If you recall 1972, and Ambassador Shamsher Chaudhry will bear me out here, many of our Mukti Bahini injured members of Mukti Bahini went to Germany for treatment in the very early days in 1972. And they were really taken well care of. So this is a place where, there is a scope. Bangladesh used to certify, and again, I don't know what the situation is now, but Bangladesh has a technical education board which used to certify all training that was given to technicians in the medical field, where labs used to have technicians who were certified by the technical education board. This is no more, I'm told. Individual institutions certify, and there is no standard there. So this is where Germany, with their advanced medical facilities, can actually help in training and reorganizing this technical education board in a way that both men and women can learn how to give that proper care in the health sector. This, after the pandemic especially, it has become very clear that we need a much improved medical service in terms of diagnostics, and that Germany excels in, and the European Union as a whole excels in. So this is an area where a big cooperation comes other than the general education.
Thank you.
Just to add one more thing, I still believe, like the paper read out this morning said, higher education is not for everybody, and that recognition must come in this country.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you. Mr. Fayaz, as we see from the keynote, that Bangladesh relationship with Germany and the EU is steadily becoming one of investment and trade. Bangladesh is also one of the major recipients of official development assistance from Germany and the EU. Do you believe Bangladesh can form even stronger strategic ties with Germany and the EU in the future?
Yes, the short answer is definitely yes. Sorry.
It's on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Short answer is definitely yes. That's what we are aiming at. We have seen that the EU and Germany, they have entered into strategic engagements with other comparable countries. I see my friend here from the Pakistan High Commission. He can bear me out. With Pakistan also, the EU has some sorts of strategic engagements till very recent times, and again, those are models that we are closely looking at. And if you have heard the paper this morning, you would have noted that Bangladesh is actually reaching out to European countries for strategic conversations that includes defense procurement as well. It's perhaps not even an open secret. It's kind of a public information that with Germany, from Germany, For example, we recently procured a good number of training aircrafts, for example, which are kind of good beginnings, and the German ambassador has left. We have recently seen that they have approached us to designate Deputy Defense Attaché, a resident Deputy Defense Attaché in Bangladesh, which is also perhaps another starting point to further deepen our strategic engagements that would encompass defense cooperation. So this is something that is in tandem with our own Forces Goal 2030, which kind of puts thrust on further modernizing our forces. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would be increasing the number of our forces, but if we are looking at enhancing the technological prowess of our forces, then of course Europe is a logical choice, as many of our fellow panelists have mentioned. I would also like to add here some of the other aspects that we are trying to pursue. Knowledge partnership is also something that is an evolving conversation with the European Union. You would have heard the Honorable Prime Minister saying these days that after agricultural research, she would like to put a lot of emphasis on medical research, for example. And this is an area where we are trying to reach out to European countries and trying to see how we can further broaden our cooperation. And secondly, skills partnership. The issue of migration has been mentioned. We do have certain outstanding concerns vis-a-vis the EU, but at the same time what we are asking for is to create more legal pathways for our nationals to go to Europe. You may have recently seen that for the first time we have concluded an MOU with Greece, one of the EU member states, on labor recruitment. These are kind of skills partnership that we would like to pursue in the coming days and take it forward. These are also things that are happening with countries like Italy, Romania, Croatia to some extent, and there is no reason why we cannot expand that further. And on the cultural issues, definitely, again, I'm happy to say that just 2 weeks back, we signed an MOU with Greece, for example, on cultural cooperation, and with individual EU member states with the 50 years celebrations. There are concrete initiatives which are being foreseen to enhance our engagements in those sectors as well, and that's where we would definitely look forward to support from colleagues from the cultural scene very much so. Thank you.
And Mr. Fayaz, the European countries and the West are working together to solve the Ukraine crisis, which has been going on for months now. So what do you think Bangladesh can offer to de-escalate the situation? Is there any role we can play?
That's a good question for me. As Ambassador Whiteley said, I mean, our diplomacy has been always peace-centric. I mean, we have been an important actor in the international conversation on peace and security. And like most other countries, we do believe that the solution does not lie in armed conflicts. There should be immediate cessation of hostilities. The UN Charter must be upheld, territorial integrity and sovereignty must be preserved, and any such issues should be solved through dialogues and negotiations. And in this context, again, what Ambassador Hussein has been referring to in terms of our relations with our neighbors, you would have seen that we have practiced that ourselves, that despite occasional provocations, we have always tried to follow the path of restraint and tried to pursue, even at the cost of time and perseverance, we have tried to pursue diplomacy and dialogue. And that is what we would, of course, continue to propagate and advocate in the international context, that any such crisis should be solved through diplomacy and dialogue. And if there is a scope for Bangladesh to contribute, we would definitely take that into active consideration. Already there has been some discussions on possible humanitarian assistance, sending some possible humanitarian assistance, and here I look to Mr. Muqtadir, who have always been very supportive of the Foreign Office's initiatives on these issues in terms of providing medical support or pharmaceuticals and so forth. And these are options that we are definitely keeping open. And in that spirit, you may have also noticed that just this week, we had supported the UN resolution that talks about the humanitarian consequences of this crisis. These are also principled issues for Bangladesh, and these are also different ways that we believe that we can also contribute to the conversations that are happening around this crisis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, your unfinished thoughts. And let me add one thing, just one. What roles BGCCI plays to improve the bilateral relations between Bangladesh and Germany?
Thank you, Zillur. We are promoting from BGCCI the business that not only the Germans are investing in Bangladesh. We try to make German businesses easy in Bangladesh, provide information so that German business people can come and invest. And during our last conversation, we also thought that Germany also provides good opportunity for Bangladeshi businesses to go and invest there. So this is a new chapter that is just opening up. So BGCCI is trying to bridge between businesses in Bangladesh and Germany. Now, there are several other things that I wanted to say because Honorable Ambassador of EU is here, and they are also emphasizing on climate change. You have seen that Dhaka is the most polluted city in the world, and it is becoming unbearable. So we need to take actually some very practical steps to come out of this. And this is probably the right time that EU, since they have come forward, they have allocated funds, and they are very sincere in their effort and initiative, they can actually make a very, very practical change in future if they take few steps. We have found out there are two reasons why Dhaka city and Bangladesh is highly polluted because of the unburned carbon particles in the air. And the major reasons for these, of course, vehicles and also brick kilns. So in both the areas, Germany and the EU can make a visible difference within the shortest possible time. I would request that if you go to everywhere in Bangladesh, you will see very fragile three-wheeler on batteries. These are actually made components from China, and they last only few months. So the time has come actually to put something here in Bangladesh, establish some utility vehicle manufacturing facilities, and this would not take very big investments. But we need technical help so that the individual wheel propelling engines can be actually made in Bangladesh, and those utility vehicles can be made in Bangladesh in millions. And this is possible, and this is an extremely profitable business proposition. I would ask His Excellency the Ambassador of EU to consider this as actually giving some relief to the environment.
And Mr. Muqtadir, just
just another two things. I just put another on the brick kiln. They are burning coals all around Dhaka city, and Germany has a solution to this. And actually, I will urge the authorities here to set a timeline that by this timeline we can actually improve the situation of Bangladesh. It is possible within 2 years, to tell you very frankly. So then Bangladesh would be immensely grateful to EU and Germany if you could actually make this change. Yes.
And but I would like to, as you are leading in the pharmaceutical industry here in Bangladesh, I'd like to know your observation on the pharmaceutical industry's present relation and future prospects with the European countries, especially with Germany.
Thank you. Although this is a new unfolding chapter, people do not know about this. We have started exporting our medicines to Europe, and days are not too far away when European generic medicine would be mostly supplied from this subcontinent. It is now coming to the Europe, going from India and China, and probably within a shortest possible time we'll also have almost similar percentage of market share, if not more. And within 5 years' time, this is going to be completely revolutionized. And we'll be selling most of the regular drugs that are consumed in Europe made in Bangladesh. And these are high-tech stuff, but we'll be highly competitive. And I have personally started an initiative in Germany, and we have already registered 2 very widely used medicines, one for asthma, one for gastrics. So these 2 widely medicines should be sold in Germany, and then it's going to be as many as 20 or 30, 40, hundreds of them. So there the value addition is probably not as high. Then the real value addition comes from biotech. If you look into the recent introduction of new biotech molecules, you will see that majority of them coming from either Germany or either USA or from England. Germany is also extremely good in biotech, but biotech requires tremendous amount of actual labor, hands-on labor into the labs in order to bring a molecule to the market. Bangladesh can provide you those manpower, and we need this strong collaboration in biological research, both in finding out new monoclonal antibodies and diagnostics. So there, a strong collaboration between German new companies. These are not old big companies, no. There are many new initiatives in biotech and diagnostics. Bangladesh can offer you many scientists, which is required on the bench to work for continuously for years together in order to come out with a new drug. So this is a new collaboration that requires to be established so that Germany and EU can become equally effective bringing out new effective medicines compared to United States. So this is possible with the help of
Thank you, Mr. Muqtadir. Rubaiyat, as a filmmaker and an interdisciplinary researcher, you had an opportunity to experience different cultures around the world. We found I'd like to hear the similarities and dissimilarities you found between the Bangladesh and Germany and the European culture throughout your journey.
Well, I think in my line of work, we always look for a lot of universality. We see that people are actually very similar, no matter where you go. But having said that, there are definitely different approaches, like how Ambassador Rasim was talking about how gender is perceived in the EU countries. I have had opportunity to work in France, Denmark, Germany, and I have seen how education or gender roles are perceived from a very young age. And it is, yes, it is important that in the gender gap index, Bangladesh is our ranking has progressed, and we see many of these markers. But what I really think about, having spent time in other parts of the world also, is how we have many cultural notions that really hold us back when it comes to women and how women are perceived in society and what kind of roles are assigned to women. So I think that's where I really see big differences in how gender is perceived. Having said that, there are many gender issues all around the world, and every country is trying to battle it in its own way. And I think Bangladesh is doing a very, very good job, but we have age-old traditions and culture and religion that we have to factor in. Another thing is, if I talk more specifically about film, in filmmaking, there are actually not many women anywhere in the world, not even in Europe. I've been in this industry for 12 years. I'm yet to meet really strong women German producers or French producers. There are, and actually I was part of Berlinale co-production market this year, and I had meetings with some young women who are producers and setting up their companies. So I think it's a global phenomena that there a big gender balance in this field of filmmaking, which I think is problematic, because then the type of stories and the type of images that we put out there are actually created by only one demography. So it's not a diverse image or pool of stories that we get to watch. And we started this initiative for young Bangladeshi women, and we're taking them through mentorship in filmmaking, and we're partnering with Goethe Institute, who will help us distribute this film all around Bangladesh. So, these are ways where we can partner and we can support each other. And I think when I look at the differences, yes, I see that in terms of how women are treated, it's different, but it's also very, very much similar. When I show my films in Germany or France, and women come up to me and be like, yeah, I have the same struggle.
And Rubaite, in your movies, you were trying to bring the realities, the barriers that the women are facing in this country. What inspires you most to fight the social stigmas? Do you find any barriers in your work?
Well, I think, like I said, there are very few women in this job, not only in Bangladesh, but globally. You go to a big festival like Cannes or Berlin, and they're fighting, and I think Berlin Festival this year had a very good gender balance, and there are women, there's a woman who won the Golden Bear, but then there was a talk also in the press about it. When a woman wins a Palme d'Or in Cannes Festival, there is some negative reaction in the French press about whether she actually deserved it or whether the film is a bit Hollywood aesthetics. So I think I also get that as a woman. When I work, my credibility is questioned because I'm a woman, that, oh, can she make movies? The assumption, so the kind of assumptions that come with our cultural notions. And I think that's definitely a barrier. And also there are structural barriers in terms of, like, earlier I was saying that we do not have film schools, so most of the learning is informal, and people learn by becoming part of peer groups. And for women, there's greater barriers to access these peer groups in Bangladesh because these groups are highly misogynist and sexist. Women also have issues of mobility, social respectability, which kind of really create hindrance for women to join more women in the media. Like if you look at this room of the media personnel we have, we do not see a single woman. And that's a very common picture in Bangladesh, and we do not even question it.
Thank you, Rubaite. Thank you. Final round, Ambassador Charles Whitley. We have also seen the EU remove countries from the EBA list due to concerns of human rights violations. How do you think Bangladesh is currently perceived in the EU in regards to human rights violations?
I think, well, we had a long-standing relationship with Bangladesh, which we have as was mentioned in the paper, actually, we have a partnership agreement going back to 2001, which includes a whole structure for our engagement on issues of mutual concern, and that includes a subgroup on human rights. So we're convening in Brussels in May the Joint Committee, which examines the whole rubric of our relations, from trade to commerce to science to connectivity, but also human rights. And that's always a good opportunity to add issues between us, both ways, because, for example, in the past, Islamophobia in Europe has been raised in the context of that dialogue. So I think that's part and parcel of a mature relationship. And of course, in these days, in the UN, it's a much more rigorous process for all states. We have the Universal Periodic Review. Bangladesh will have the Universal Periodic Review next year. And all states go through that process where they're asked by their peers about issues relating to human rights. And often that's rooted in the human rights obligations that the state has accepted itself. And Bangladesh, as I mentioned, has ratified all 32 conventions on human rights, environmental, labour rights standards that govern the GSP plus area. So there is this nexus between trade and human rights. Some countries, of course, which commit grievous violations of human rights, crimes against humanity, that sort of thing, then naturally the European Union and others will re-examine their entire relationship with that country, and including the preferences that are given. But and that's not the context at all in Bangladesh. We have a different context where we have a mature partnership. We engage on these issues. We work hard to address them together. And we had just an example of that last week with the visit of our colleagues from Brussels who are here to discuss the implementation of the National Action Plan on the labour sector, which has quite an extensive list of agreed measures that will improve further the safety and other standards in the industry here, that will help boost exports and help ensure that the trading relationship continues in a very good way. So that's how we operate with Bangladesh in this area.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine has resulted in the EU stepping up and providing relief for the millions of refugees feeling the effects of war. Do you believe such an initiative in humanitarian efforts can also be possible for the million plus Rohingya refugees currently taking shelter in Bangladesh?
The two situations are quite different, because in Ukraine it's a different kind of a world, if I may use the word world. It's a war-torn country now, and the approach to the humanitarian approach to the problems emerging from this war is quite different from what is happening in Myanmar. Myanmar, the Rohingya problem is a very focused one on one particular community, and therefore the approach should be quite different in terms of taking in refugees and providing them the support that they require. In Ukraine, the Ukrainians will be able to will find homes in different parts of Europe. In terms of Rohingyas, they will not find any other home than Bangladesh, where they are now. So the approach has to be quite different. And we understand that Germany has taken this initiative to help Bangladesh in moving, if I'm not wrong, in moving the Rohingyas to Bhashanchar. That was a big step for Germany to encourage others to accept that. But this can be only a temporary solution. Rohingyas will have to get back to Myanmar, and that humanitarian approach will have to be different. In terms of Ukraine, I don't see the whole population going back to Ukraine anytime soon, because the country is completely destroyed. And the opportunity for them to not only return to their homeland, but return to their work is going to be quite impossible for them, as we had experienced, not as badly as Ukraine has suffered, but it will be quite different. So the approaches have to be quite different too.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fayaz. You have been working as a representative of Bangladesh government in the Europe region for quite some time. What's your learning in the Europe you would like to suggest for Bangladesh in the policy level? It's on, yeah. On.
This is the round for difficult questions. It's a simple answer would be that to realize our aspirations. I think Ambassador Hussein talked about the good things that are enshrined in our constitution, and of course he also mentioned that there still is a gap between what's written in the constitution and what we see on the ground. And what we are trying as a society, as a nation, is to progressively move towards realizing those commitments, those obligations that we had taken as a nation at our genesis. And that's where we see that we have similar values that we share with Europe. I mean, the whole notion of democracy, human rights, governance, labor reform, all these conversations that we are continuously having with Europe and the Western countries, the value systems are very much similar that we wanted to emulate. So we would rely and count on Europe as a trusted ally, and in that process to also understand the practical difficulties and challenges and constraints that we have. We cannot resolve all the issues at one go, but as long as the societal thrust remains in a forward direction, as long as we know where we want to reach, there is no reason why we should not be able to replicate what we have, what we currently see in many European countries in the context of Bangladesh. And I would end by again referring back to what our father of the nation had said. I mean, he wanted to create a Switzerland of the East in Bangladesh, and starting with our strategic neutrality to the kind of social justice that he had envisaged, I'm sure that we would be able to move towards realizing those objectives.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir. We know that the EU removes countries from the everything but arms EBA preferential trade initiative after the graduation from least developed countries LDC status. What are the possible ramifications of the upcoming LDC graduation for Bangladesh in terms of receiving EBA from the EU? Could such preferential trade agreements be negotiated from the side of Bangladesh?
Leaving aside medicine, the other things are taken care of by the government, and I think there will be extension. But on drugs and medicines, I must say that extension is probably not going to be given to us. So the TRIPS, according to the TRIPS agreement, that we are able to copy patented medicine, probably will not continue beyond 2026. This is a hard reality that we must swallow and then prepare for it. But the interesting point is Bangladesh, the development of technology and preparedness of the pharmaceutical industry facing this new reality is on the ground, and we are planning for a very big change. And within, I guess, 3 to 4 years' time, we'd be able to manufacture most of the API that we are currently producing. And we'd also be able to make vaccines and biologics that will be allowed until 2026. So even if the patent regime is being implemented, or patent regime comes in Bangladesh and we have to pay royalty to patented products, that is not going to impact the public health situation and the availability of the medicines at a lower prices, because all the medicines that are patented are not going to be used instantaneously. So actually there is a natural process by which we'll continue to enjoy this kind of lower prices of the drugs for, let's say, another 5 or 6 years of time. So until, let's say, 2032, 33, the situation will remain almost next 10, 11 years would remain actually the same as it is now. After 2032, 33, I guess the economic situation of the people would be such that they would be able to pay higher prices for the patented drugs. And then there is a whole lot of other issues: how to finance public health, how to finance medicine, how to finance health, insurance. Other things will come into this particular place. It is extremely complicated and probably requires a different discussion. But what I would like to emphasize on, that the Bangladesh drug industry in the meantime is changing so much that it's not only, it is now catering like say 98% of the local demand, but it will become a major export earning for Bangladesh. And that requires tremendous amount of collaboration between Europe and Bangladesh. Especially they look into the lenses of in this particular way. Please correct me if I am wrong, that let's say Bangladesh and India, if they look into this, they will say that India is 8 times higher, bigger, or 10 times bigger than Bangladesh. But actually in drug industry, it is not. I give you a comparison. If any country is looking at Bangladesh garment industry with India, if they say that Bangladesh garment industry is 1/10 of India, that's not true. I mean, the combined export of India and Pakistan in garments is probably lower than Bangladesh. So you have to look into Bangladesh pharma industry with that particular view, with that particular lens, so that you start actually collaborating with us. Anything that we are going to do now is becoming very difficult, and it all comes via other countries to Bangladesh, which must change. And this attitude, I think we have started this dialogue with Europe and also Germany, that you need to establish offices here, because Bangladesh is a much bigger market than what you anticipate. So I think They are noticing it, and we are very vocal on this particular issue, very, very vocal, and we are very annoyed and dissatisfied the way we are treated on this particular matter, because they do not identify the potential of Bangladesh in pharmaceutical market. It's going to be radically changed within the next 3 years' time.
Thank you, very impressive. Ms. Rubaiyat, both Bangladesh and Germany are rich in culture and history. How do you feel it would be possible to increase cultural exchange between these two nations?
I think it's actually happening a little bit already, and we can enhance that more. I have seen in the past years, I have seen different initiatives taken by the German Cultural Center and the German Embassy, where they try to engage with artists and filmmakers in different projects. And one such very important project is a project about young women's voices. And young women that are creating exhibitions not only in Dhaka but all around Bangladesh. So I think initiatives like that are very valuable, but I feel that the space is very limited for such collaboration, and we can definitely expand on that. And like I was saying, in terms of film, we do not have proper labs, and there was a time when Bangladeshi filmmakers would go to India and go to other countries to do co-productions, but why not doing co-production with European Union countries? Because now in Netflix you're creating content from all over the world, so I do see a lot of possibilities for foreign crew coming to Bangladesh for filming, or Bangladeshi crew going to Germany and using the diaspora that we have within the European Union countries and to tap into them as an audience. But like I said, we do not have proper policies. When we have to, like for example, I said I had co-production with European Union, and I brought my equipments from France and from Germany, and the kind of bureaucratic hassles that we have to go through in order to obtain permissions and things like that. It's like a road not traveled.
Mr. Fayez is there.
I'll talk to him after this. But I think there are immense possibilities that are not tapped into that can definitely be explored in the future.
Thank you, Rubaiyat. So now the question and answer sessions. We'll appreciate your interventions. If you have any questions to the panelists or Mr. Tawhid Hussain, please be brief in your questions or observation if you have. And in the beginning, you must introduce yourself. I think let me start with Mr. Shamsher Mobin Chaudhuri. Yeah, please. Mr. Shamsher Mobin Chaudhuri, he is the former ambassador of Bangladesh to Germany, and he is the former foreign secretary of Bangladesh. Shamsher Mobin Chaudhuri Bir Bikram. There are microphones actually. You can take. Thank you so much. Please be brief. I know. Yeah.
Thank you, Zilur, for indulging me and allowing to come to the stage to talk. The reason why I sought this treatment from the host was perhaps I was, as Naseem had mentioned, one of the first Bangladeshis to have actually landed on German soil within few weeks of our liberation. I arrived as a wounded soldier. I was wounded in the war. I was in the army, and the then government of German Democratic Republic had very kindly invited wounded freedom fight, not invited, actually taken them to East Berlin for medical treatment at their cost, which was a very generous thing and enabled me to see Germany, what is one part of Germany. And then later on I went back 23 years later as ambassador to a united Germany, because the capital was still in Bonn, and I was the last one to be in Bonn. My successor had moved the embassy to Berlin. When I was in East Berlin, I was there for 11 months for medical treatment. So what happened after the first 5 or 6 months, I was able to move about, and we were treated in a hospital way outside Berlin city. So we would take the S-Bahn, as they called it, the metro service. So every time the metro train neared the famous or the infamous Berlin Wall, the train would pick up speed for that few minutes till it crossed the section of the wall. And I found out eventually this was designed so that nobody jumps off the train and crosses the wall into West Berlin. And this is a true story. The sense of fear in the East German mind was such that they thought people would actually jump off a running train and cross the border over to West Berlin. The other thing what happened was in the hospital, especially in the evenings, we would go to special rooms that the hospital staff would arrange, television rooms, and those were black and white television still days, and nobody would be listening to or seeing East German television. All the hospital staff would be seeing television from West Germany, and they'd rather hear Willy Brandt and not Mr. Erich Honecker. So when I went back to Germany as an ambassador in 1995, I focused on, and I had been advised by our business people to focus on the trade issues. So I made special contact with an association that I'm sure Muqtadir is aware of. It's called the Ostasiatisches Verein, the East Asia Business Forum. And this is more than 100 years old. So Germany had looked at East Asia, including Indian subcontinent, more than 100 years ago. And this was a very active business organization. There was a Bangladesh chapter in part of the Ostasiatisches Verein, headed by a family, Mr. Klassen, whose father had been importing raw jute from Bangladesh from 1910, 1920. And there's a business museum, trade museum in the port of Bremen, where I went, and there is sound jute bag, not a bag, but a bundle of raw jute. And it said jute from Bengal, 1908. So it is that far back that trade relations between Bangladesh and or the Germany and Asia had existed, and the same was the case between Germany and China. If you go to a city called in the province of in the north, there's a German city. It's like a German city. The architecture is very German, and the Qingdao beer of China and the Beck's beer of Germany has had a joint venture cooperation from 1900. So Germany had always looked at the possibility of trade and commercial relationship way back the beginning of the 19th century. Now, what happened was,
make it short, please.
Just one. And what happened was that the civil society in Germany, Friedrich Naumann Stiftung, the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, the Adenauer Foundation, been very, very active in promoting Bangladesh-German relationship. And that really helped us in many ways to reaching out to different policy makers in Germany. It's a very open country. So the advantage of fomenting close relationship with Germany in a multifaceted way is immense and almost endless. Now, Fayaz, of course, has a very challenging task 3 days from now. He's going to be one of the speakers at the BISS on European Union Indo-Pacific. So I don't know how much he can hedge his bets on that occasion. He's trying to be very careful today. But this is an area where I think we should look, because I think relationship between Bangladesh and European Union and Bangladesh and European Union member states, especially Germany, should now move beyond the bilateral frame and really look out into the larger Asia-Pacific scenario. Bangladesh has reached a stage where we can be a player of consequence in the larger, and Ukraine, of course, has made things very, very different for everyone. Germany is going to rearm itself. It has been announced already. Japan is going to rearm itself, and then that puts country like Bangladesh into much more serious dialogue with European Union as a group, and Germany even more so, because I think we will have a very, very great role to play. Of course, Mr. Muqtadi talked about pharmaceutical products, but one of the major German companies, leather company called Picard, they produce all their products in Bangladesh. And this investment happened when I was ambassador in Germany. So it's a multifaceted range of cooperation that we can do. And events like this, what CGS has organized, should be more of a regular feature between the civil society stakeholders in Bangladesh and Germany and the media connection. Special word to Rubaiyat. I think we should look at possibly dubbing well-known Bangla films into German languages or other European Union languages, where Germany and other Europe are very, very important film goers. They really like to do that. Just last word, and Nasim's uncle and also my uncle did his PhD at Humboldt University in the 1930s, Syed Mustafa Ali, and I'm sure many of you have heard his name, Syed Mustafa Ali. He did a master's in Humboldt University and his PhD at Bonn University. So our relations go back much, much further than that. Thank you, Zilur, once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, we don't have that much time to give you enough time to talk. But there are many hands, I'm saying. Let's start with a lady. Huh? And the golden girl. Please. Introduce yourself and please be brief. Huh?
Yeah.
Very brief.
Thank you, Zilur. শোনা যাচ্ছে?
Yeah.
My name is Nazma Akhtar. I'm the labor activist in Bangladesh. My question to Ambassador Charles, because শোনা যাচ্ছে না?
Yeah, we can hear you.
না লাগে। আচ্ছা।
So your question.
Yeah, thank you.
To Ambassador.
Yeah.
We'll answer later.
Charles, and
let
thank
me take
you, the keynote speaker, because he mentioned the two things. One of the education, another is the supply chain. So my question is the supply chain, because the Ambassador Charles, because you know I'm the week before I met the European delegates in Bangladesh, and also I'm working with the German and different other country partnership with the European Union's countries, and I'm representing mostly in the garment sector, and where the young and women's girls are working. And as the keynote speaker mentioning about the supply chain, and you know the exploitation, it is only in Bangladesh, or it is also come from the where the orders comes, because in Bangladesh most of the workers are cheap labor and young girls. And there is no voice, there is no living voice, there is no freedom of expression, there is no freedom of association. So the 50 years relationship with the German or European Union, but the late 70s, early 80s, the garments industry came to our country due to the cheap labor. So how long it will be the cheap labor? When the women will get the respect and dignity, because the peoples are in Germany, one of the largest production country in Bangladesh, but day by day declining the price, and the women's workers, the nutrition, the education are in the question. After 40 years, women cannot work in the factory, although the law is required the 60 years women can work. So this, the transparency, accountability from the European market, and how we can change this, because as long as we are cheap labor, how we can get the respect and dignity. So your supply chain, how make the transparency, and how make better and good education. And also we like to how the German education, and I have a lot of partnership in Germany, and I know the people in this room and across the world, and thank you FES and CGS, and how to make fair price and fair
I'll take a few more questions
wages.
And then I'll go to, come to the panelists. And if you have any question to Mr. Tawhid Hussein, you can ask. Ambassador Sarwar Hussain, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just make two quick points. Thank you very much that German is a good friend of Bangladesh. We would expect, as a citizen of this country, German would engage more for restoring democracy, rule of law, human rights, strengthening the institutions, especially the election systems. This is the first expectation in 50 years relation between Bangladesh and Germany. The second point on Mr. Tawhid's keynote speech, he said something, Bangladesh should have a deterrence. I totally agree with him. The Rohingya issue can be solved in 5 years' time. This is my personal opinion. And nobody else in this world will help Bangladesh to solve this Rohingya crisis. I suggest that Bangladesh must have offensive capability to launch an offensive to establish peace and restore the Rohingyas in their own homeland. Alternatively, Bangladesh can think the nation at arms. They have 4 crore people, we have 18 crore people. We must use this strength. Nobody else, India, China, or European Union, nobody is going to help really to solve this problem other than servicing the lip service. So this is my suggestion in this room.
Thank you.
There are many armed forces officers, many diplomats, many politicians.
Thank you.
So this is the real solution of Rohingya issue, and we must think about it. Thank you very much.
Please, we are running out of time, so very briefly, Advocate Nurjan Begum Mukta, former Member of Parliament from ruling party.
Thank you. I am Nurjan Begum Mukta, former Member of Parliament, Bangladesh Awami League, and Advocate, Supreme Court of Bangladesh. Actually, we know Bangladesh and German relationship is built on a very good and solid foundation. Now I have some questions to His Excellency Charles Whiteley. First, are you satisfied with the present trade volume between Dhaka and Berlin? How can it be increased?
Berlin.
And number 2, Rohingya refugee crisis. After Rohingya refugee crisis, Germany supported Bangladesh politically and financially. Do you think the international community is doing enough to solve the Rohingya crisis? What do you think the solution is to this protected crisis? And I have also another question, last one. A new law has been enacted in Germany. The law will be effective from 2023. Under the new law, German importing companies will ensure that human rights are not violated in their own business activities and supply chains. Do you think this could create new challenges for Bangladeshi exporters? Thank you.
Ms. Munira Khan, President FEMA, Fair Relation Monitoring Alliance. FEMA.
Thank you, Zillu. Actually, I want to ask a simple, very simple question, primitive question. That is, we are celebrating 50 years of German-Bangladesh relations. Now I ask that we were ruled by British people for many, 200 years, and all of us, the Commonwealth countries, we understand English. After 50 years of your relationship, how many of us learned Germany? Here, I want anybody. One sentence of Germany.
Mr. Shamsher Mobin Chaudhary, I think.
No.
Mr.
No.
Shamsher Mobin.
So, my suggestion.
There is at least one.
And my suggestion is that our younger generation, manpowers are going to.
I don't want to be colonized all over again.
Please, my suggestion is, as all the countries have compulsory education, 2 or 3 languages, and we are getting better relationship with Germany. Now ask all the English medium or other medium school, they should give opportunity to our children to learn German language also.
Thanks.
How to do it? It is your problem. But they should know German language. That is my suggestion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Major Zillur Rahman. Any hands? Yeah. Okay. Okay, sure. I'll come to you. Major Zillur Rahman. I'm taking all the questions and then I'll go to the panelists.
Thank you. Myself, Major Zillur Rahman. Thank you, CGS, for conducting a very fruitful dialogue. Especially, I would like to emphasize on one point, probably that is a burning issue to all of us. Some of the guests, they have already touched it upon. I will request our German excellence guest that
He's the ambassador of European Union.
All right.
German
Also,
ambassador.
European Union is coming in because once we see the Ukrainian refugee, and we saw and see the refugee of Rohingya, that become a headache for only Bangladesh. Once the refugees see they are treated VIP treatment, and the refugee of the Rohingya, the way they are supposed to be treated, German, as our good friend, we definitely deserve and expect they will have a vital role to play in this refugee problem of Rohingya. I think they need a special attention, and it will be carried forward to the proper forum where it can be discussed fruitfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zillur Rahman. Shama Waid, she is the organizing secretary of Bangladesh Nationalist Party.
First of all, congratulations on this 50-year celebration program. I apologize for my delay, Zillur Bhai, because as being in an opposition, I was stuck in the court day today, so in the morning. So I will make my comment very brief. What I want to say is, as we are celebrating 50 years of German-Bangladesh relations, and as we all know here that Germany has been one of the first countries in Europe to accept Bangladesh and recognize Bangladesh as a sovereign and liberated country, as one of the panelists have mentioned, that we share same values. I agree that we share same values, but the values for which Bangladesh was liberated, the liberation war happened, does not exist in the country at the moment, unfortunately. So as a very strong bilateral and trade partner of Bangladesh, as we know that we are also in garments industry, so we know that Germany is a very, very important as well as the European Union as a whole, a very important partner of Bangladesh as far as trade and export goes. So when we talk, since we live in a global community, when we talk about human rights, when we talk about democracy, when we talk about labor rights, when we talk about our women empowerment, or whatever that may be the issue at the moment in the world, we, European Union and Germany, should, as a strong partner, as a global community, should look into the human rights situation in Bangladesh, the democracy situation in Bangladesh, because that's the basic values our forefathers have fought for back in 1971, which is not present at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Shama. Professor Dr. Sardar Naim, he is the chairman of Japan-Bangladesh Friendship Hospital.
Thank you, Zillur. You have given my introduction already. I really congratulate for a beautiful program and very fruitful program on German-Bangladesh relationship. Actually, I'm a surgeon. Well, my question or the comment to mainly Abdul Muqtadir, who is a legend in the field of pharmaceuticals. But medical science has got another field, surgery. Almost no less than 50% of the total medical treatment comprise of surgery. We knew about Germany in our childhood for footballs, for World War, etc., etc. But when I became a surgeon, I found the German equipments, instruments have no match. When I was trained in Tokyo University, I was using German equipments and instruments. So, can we, even the Pakistan is producing lots of surgical instruments, but can we really look into the fact that Bangladesh also can collaborate with Germany for producing surgical equipments and instruments in any way, so that, and hundreds of consumables, surgical consumables, so that we can really reduce the cost of treatment? Because if we import, still now, I don't use any instrument other than, it's of German company. because we have got Chinese and Indians, a lot many things. But when I'm doing this surgery, the laparoscopic surgery, which I have introduced in this country. I am doing only this surgery with only German instruments and equipments. But the problem is when these are really very expensive and is very, difficult to import also. So can we go for some kind of collaboration with Bangladeshi and German companies to produce them in Bangladesh? That's my question is. Thank you.
So any more hands? Please. Very briefly, because I have only 6 minutes.
Thank you, Moderator.
General, no.
My name is Hussein. I'm a journalist. I work for Ajke Potrika. My question is for Mr. Muqtadir. You already talked about the trips, and after 2026, you are going to lose the facilities you used to have. So my question is our pharmaceutical industry not capable enough to handle those R&D after 2026? And the nation already knows when Bangladesh is going to get graduate, and after the graduation the facilities will go on. So are you not ready for that? And my another question is for the DG of MOFA. You already talked about the defense procurement from the Europe and why it is logical. So my question is it only for the value of money? I mean, maybe it may be the value of money, or reducing the single country dependency in our defense procurement. Thank you.
So no more questions, and all questions directed to Ambassador Charles, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, Mr. Fayaz, and Mr. Tawhid Hussain. So each of you will get 1.5 minutes. Mr. Fayaz, please. I don't have enough time. Yeah.
Sorry. Well, if I have to start, first of all, again, there is a lot of cooperation happening in the education sector. Let me assure you of that. I mean, what we have seen, especially during the COVID period, a great number of Bangladeshi students are applying in Germany, and there is a huge visa backlog actually with the German embassy at the moment. Most of our applicants have been doing online courses, but now they are desperate to go to Germany in person, and the German embassy is literally struggling with that. And it has been quite interesting for us to see that the number is much higher from what we see even for North American countries, our traditional destinations. So hopefully these students who are going there, and we hope that they're going for credible institutions. If you are a guardian sending your child to Germany, please make sure that they are going to some well-reputed, credible institution. That's our request. But once these students go there, obviously they will pick up some German, and we would have perhaps more German-speaking people amongst in our midst. Secondly, a lot has been said about technical education. That is a sector that we are continuously talking to Germany about. One practical aspect we have to keep in mind that German technical education has reached a very sophisticated stage or level which cannot be directly replicated in Bangladesh. We have to customize it in our context. I mean, it's one thing to, of course, borrow from their example, but another thing to expect that this would happen here overnight. So we have to prepare the whole ecosystem so that we can gradually aspire to having that kind of a model. But I do not think that there is any denial that technical education is perhaps the future that we need to look at. And lastly, of course, a lot has been said about labor rights, human rights, and those issues. Here, I would not speak as a government functionary, but as an individual private citizen and perhaps as a panelist. We would actually urge our political leaders, and many of you are present here, we would urge you to sit together and resolve these issues amongst yourselves. Let us not invite always the foreigners to intervene and fix our problems. I mean, if we need course correction, that is something that should happen organically from within the society, and we have to see how we can maintain our relations with foreigners, with our foreign partners, on the basis of mutual respect, not in terms of them dictating us how we should run and govern the country. And sorry, I forgot Mohsin's question, which I should have answered. I think you answered it yourself. Of course, it is not healthy to depend on one single source in terms of defense procurement. But as you said, we are particularly looking at European technology, which is something that fits in with our agenda for Forces Goal 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fayyaz. Mr. Tawhid Hussain, could you please come to the podium if you want to?
Be very brief.
Please.
Don't worry about that.
1.5 minutes.
15 seconds long. Okay. Is it working?
Song, yes.
Fine. Very quickly, I'll start from where Fayyaz stopped. It's the job of the politicians to ensure that, not the job of the foreign countries to do it. Unfortunately, we always have, whoever is in opposition have always invited for the last 30 years, as I have seen, invited the foreigners to come and just regulate the things. This has never happened, will not happen. Please, as you say, that sit together and hear the issue, or if you can start a movement, fine, do that. We have achieved many things through movements. Okay, nationalist war. That doesn't happen for resolving a refugee issue. Nationalist war is what is happening in Ukraine now. We are not in that situation that we have to have a nationalist war or nationalist arms. Sorry. In 5 years' time, the Rohingya issue will not be solved. Even if we try, we will not have that military prowess in the next 5 years to defeat Myanmar, mind you, the Chinese support, and rehabilitate them. But I would say that we should, I have been saying this, we should make a 15 years plan, because the issue may not be resolved in 15 years even. Make a 15 years plan so that you are looked upon with a little more respect. I don't think there is anything else. Language, German, fine. Well, people are learning German. My daughter is married to a German boy anyway. So people are learning German, but then let us try to teach them the first foreign language that is already there, which is English. I was speaking about a school in my village which we have established. Just to tell you, give you a small figure, out of 70 students who entered class 6 2 years back, after passing the class 5 exam, 20 could not read Bangla properly. 20 could not read Bangla out of 70, and out of 70, only 20 could just read out a little bit of English, and 50 could not do it properly. Let us start there. German, we are learning, some of us are learning. Maybe subsequently we will perhaps go for a bigger one. Okay?
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you.
That's very sad. Mr. Abdul Muqtadir.
Okay, Naim Bhai, we need to look into medical accessories manufacturing. That has started already in terms of certain supplies like sutures and infusion sets and syringes, things like that. But surgical stuff, no. So this is not our part of the equation. So those who are in hospital business like yours should get involved into this, and somebody will have to start. And if you start, then you can get going. On the issue of trips, and after 2026, we are very well prepared, and we are getting towards that. But it's not going to make a big change, as I said earlier, that post 2026 the situation would be so gradual, I think most of us would not even recognize this. But we have to, like you said, that we have to develop our research capabilities so that new innovation can take place. That is too far away, and it requires not only simple research, but many other things. An ecosystem whereby you can not only do the research but also have the regulatory system in place, clinical research in place, so that you can bring in a new product. this has been done at a lightning speed in USA, although the product actually is from Germany. So you can see the Pfizer didn't do the innovation. It was BioNTech, a German small company, which did this mRNA vaccine. So I mean, it is not only the research and innovation, but certain other things which is beyond research is the regulatory system and the clinical research and the speed of it. So it's a completely different ball game, and there England and United States can take very big risk. In fact, their legislation is as such that they can give a drug to a person who is going to survive and a placebo to a person who is going to die. So that kind of decision we'll have to take. I think we are quite far away from that kind of realization. So we still have to depend on UK and United States. Even Europe is lagging behind them, and this UK and United States doing a fantastic job in bringing out new innovative medicines. So we will follow them so that we catch them up very quickly and do the copy of it and then give you the new medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Ambassador Shufila, did I miss you? Ambassador Mohammad Shufila, do you have any question? No, thank you, thank you. Ambassador Charles Welty.
Thank you. If I may, I'll focus on the...
General, please.
I don't have a serious question. There are proxy wars. I am conveying a proxy question. My grandson is 16 years old. He studies in English.
Please introduce yourself.
Myself is retired Major General Ibrahim, currently a political worker.
Please.
I have visited Germany a number of times. Thank you very much, sir. My grandson said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to a function like this." He said, "Tell them to send us some good football coaches." He's impressed about it. We haven't talked of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador.
Well, I hate football, so I'm not going to reply on that one. I'm afraid I'm very bad European. But I'd like to focus my answer, if I may, on the Rohingya issue that was raised by a couple of speakers in the audience. I think mainly because I get slightly exasperated at being repeatedly asked why isn't the EU doing more to address the Rohingya issue on both sides of the border. If you look at what we're doing in Myanmar, we've suspended our development assistance, we've imposed an arms embargo, we have imposed sanctions on various individuals and the Tatmadaw regime, we have suspended various trading privileges, we haven't suspended humanitarian assistance because we do not want to punish the garment worker women of Myanmar for the sins of their appalling regime. On this side of the fence, we're one of the largest donors consistently to the Rohingya crisis, 70 million euro from EU as EU, and that doesn't count from EU member states per year, in humanitarian and development assistance. And on the international stage, I worked, as DG Fayez will remember very well, together with him in New York on the resolution on Myanmar, which very much pioneered the attempts at the UN level to introduce accountability mechanisms and all the sorts of structures that we want to see to get accountability for the people that committed the crimes against humanity against the Rohingya people. We have had the ICC prosecutor here, as you know, in Dhaka. We have the double IM mechanism coming soon. All of this, the EU is full square behind. And then you have to ask yourself, which of Bangladesh's partners is not full square behind these efforts, who are closer in the region, who with the flick of their fingers could make a huge difference by being a bit more robust and encouraging better conditions over the border and better accountability and more responsibility from a regime that is persecuting not only the Rohingya, but also plenty of other people as well. And that's being done with the tacit approval of some quite major world powers. So I will finish with that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Whiteley. Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, Mr. Fayaz Morshid Kaji, and Ms. Rubaiyat Hussain. Thank you. The global order is changing rapidly, and but we have had a very good relations with Germany and European Union for the last 50 years, and both sides have to continue this. Please let's applaud our panelists, please, for their contribution today. Thank you all. Ifat, it's over to you.
Thank you everyone, thank you to the discussants and everyone attending here. Thank you for being so engaging. Now let us welcome Mr. Shadun Kumar Das, Program Coordinator Frederick Eber-Stiftung to the podium for concluding today's event.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guest. Yeah, very good afternoon, and I know this is not the right time to speak because food is already being served at the corner. You please join there. And from outside, we are really grateful to all of you, so distinguished guests, and also like media friends and security officials, political leaders. So thank you for your attendance and participation. Thank you.